And right now we're in the Hollywood Hills.
Yes, we just drove down Hollywood Boulevard and we saw like the Walk of Fame and it was so cool. I'm finally the same height as you. Yay!
It only takes a rail and a balcony. That's all it takes.
Exactly.
A rail and a balcony. In a hotel in LA. In the middle of nowhere somewhere. Arizona, Utah, I don't know. But we're in the middle of some canyon. There's a river down. What's wrong with you?
There's something on my foot.
Something's biting Brittany's foot. She didn't bring any shoes, folks. She brought sandals to come to the We're in the Rockies. Rocky Mountains.
I didn't think about needing closed-toed shoes, okay? It is July.
We're grizzly
okay?
bears,
People wear
mountain
flip-flops
lions.
in July.
Alright, so we are currently, right now, driving on Route 66.
Historic Route 66.
Historic Route 66.
What do Thomas Jefferson, Robert E. Lee, Edgar Allan Poe, and the Confederacy all have in common?
They all proudly call Richmond, Virginia, their home.
On this edition of On the Map, we take you through history with the Linden Row Inn and the Poe Museum. We show you visual as well as culinary art and take you to some of the hottest spots in Richmond. To begin our memorable trip to Richmond, we are checking into an unmistakable landmark with all the modern comforts of any five-star accommodation. This is the Linden Row Inn. The Linden Row Inn is a place where history, comfort, and beauty all find themselves together under one unique roof. Or, should we say, under 7 different unique roofs, because scanning the history that adorns the main hallways of the inn, you can find pictures of where the Linden Row Inn was once 7 separate grand homes of historic Richmond.
Right behind me are the 7 row homes that comprise the Linden Row Inn. We are part of the National Historic Registry. There are some very prominent families that lived here during the 1800s. The Pegram family in particular lived in one of these row homes. There was a book that was written about them. It was said that they had a lot of prominent families that would come over, have parties. There was actually a school for girls that was here as well that relates back to the beginning of St. Catherine's, which is an all-girls school here in Richmond, Virginia.
You really get a sense of stepping back through time, walking through the halls and sleeping in the Linden Row Inn. You can feel the history and the comfort that surrounded the people who called the 7 row houses home.
We're now in one of our main house rooms, which are the 7 row homes that you see when you go down Franklin Street. These were actually residential homes during the Civil War time, but this is one of the homes and one of the bedrooms that during the Civil War someone would have slept in, and then we have converted them into hotel rooms for you all to stay in. Some items that are very important to us in these rooms: we have inactive fireplaces that are original to the property. They're in every single one of the rooms. And then the 15-foot ceilings, which you see in a lot of the historical homes here in Richmond. But then we have some more modern amenities that are really great for the typical stay. Like we have the flat screen TVs, we have iPod docking stations, and then the restrooms are fully redone in granite. So it makes for a comfortable stay while keeping with the history of the property.
Through the years, the Linden Row Inn, known as the 7 row homes, has seen the changes that have shaped the city of Richmond, such as being a place where Confederate soldiers laid their heads and prominent families threw lavish get-togethers, and at one time becoming Virginia Elliott's School for Girls.
So here we are in Mary Wingfield Scott Pollard. All of our Pollards are named after historical figures. This one in particular is named after her because she was the one that saved the 7 row houses from being razed. She actually turned it over in the 1900s to the National Historical Society, who then made it into the inn that we have today by connecting all 7 row homes.
With all the history and intrigue, Linden Row Inn is an attraction in its own right. Whether you're a history buff or not, Linden Row Inn is a place where your needs of any size can be fulfilled.
In our outdoor garden space, we host many events and activities out here. We can have weddings, ceremony, and receptions for up to 125 people. We also host a lot of rehearsal dinners and cocktail parties. So we have different events that come in and out, but we are an outdoor space, so it makes for a really nice ambiance in downtown Richmond while still having an outdoor feel, but in a hotel environment.
Edgar Allan Poe played here as a small child. He actually resided where the library is across the street with his mother, and he played in our gardens. And he also, it's said that he wrote his poem to Helen, actually in these gardens. It's a very historical place, and it's kind of cool to kind of walk where Edgar Allan Poe walked and kind of get the feel and ambiance of the hotel. It's 7 row houses with 70 rooms. The main house has 50, and these are our carriage houses throughout the gardens.
Even the famed writer and poet Edgar Allan Poe enjoyed life and built memorable memories on the grounds of the Linden Row Inn.
And if your interest in Edgar Allan Poe goes beyond walking in the gardens where he once found love, you may be interested in a trip to the museum with all things Poe.
Closest thing to seeing Edgar Allan Poe in the flesh. You're actually seeing the things he used. You're walking into his world, full of artifacts, memorabilia, manuscripts, first editions, anything Poe you could wish. It interprets his life. It tells a story of his struggle to achieve fame as a writer at a time when there weren't any other writers in America who actually tried to make a living just off their writing. He was the first one in America to do that. And in the process, he invented the detective story and pioneered science fiction and a tale of psychological terror, and wrote some of the only poems that we're still reading today.
The Poe Museum is a year-to-year, day-to-day walk in the life of Edgar Allan Poe. And though Poe's life was tragic in many ways, his career broke new ground that would forever change the literary landscape, which makes Poe's museum a monument to more than just one man's legacy. It makes the museum a monument that celebrates the entire history of literacy.
This is Richmond as it would have appeared during Poe's lifetime. This model's made back in 1925 based on old elevation charts, insurance records, old photos and drawings of the houses. Try to make it look as accurate as possible, really give a sense that you're stepping back in time to Richmond as Poe would have known it. Richmond, where not all the streets are paved yet, where the capital there was the largest building in town, could be seen from across the river. Now you can't see the state capitol from a block away. But in Poe's day, it was a landmark you could see from a mile away. But this is the Richmond that Poe knew, that he called home. And we've tried to save bits and pieces from these different buildings that have been demolished, including a mantle, a staircase from Poe's boyhood home, china and glassware and irons from his boyhood home, and just little mementos that are evidence of that life that he knew. And you can tell just looking at some of the pieces, like the nice Chinese plate, a literal luxury item in Poe's time, that he grew up in luxury with the Allens, his foster parents. And he probably grew up expecting to inherit that, but it just didn't work out that way. He was left out of the will, and he had to make his living off of his writing. He was the first American author to really put American literature on the world stage, to become the first internationally influential author by inventing new literary genres and come up with new ideas of what literature is about. No longer did literature have to teach you anything, didn't have to edify you, make you a better person. He said that a poem could exist for the poem's sake, that being an entertaining story that scared you or made you laugh was enough. That's what it had to do. It had to entertain you, it had to thrill you or chill you. And that really changed the face of world literature. No longer was literature at the service of edification. No longer did poetry have to be didactic. Now poetry could just be enjoyed for its own beauty. And stories could be entertaining just for the sake of being entertaining. He said that's enough. That's how you know that a story is successful, is by how it makes you feel. On this side of the room we have one of our largest artifacts. It's a staircase from one of Poe's boyhood homes. You can almost imagine a young Poe running down these stairs as a teenager. He was kind of a skinny kid with a big head. They said his head was so large because his brain was so big. And it's hard to imagine now, but he was an excellent athlete. He represented his academy in boxing and track and set the school's broad jumping record. And to this day, he holds the record for swimming against the tidal currents in the James River at 6 miles. We had someone come here a few years ago trying to beat that record. He came in with the swim fins and everything, and he boasted us that he would beat the record finally. We never heard from him again. We hope it went okay for him. We have his vest here and his socks. These are things that have been passed down through the family for generations. They're kept in a small trunk of his possessions. We also have there his boot hooks used to pull up his boots. And here is his walking stick. And the walking stick has been written about in novels and biographies for years. This is the walking stick he was carrying at the end of his life. The night before he left Richmond, he left at his doctor's house, took his doctor's sword cane with him instead. We've never determined why he took that sword cane. Was he trying to defend himself? Was he just confused? It's all part of the mystery of Poe's death. Roughly 10 days after he left Richmond, he was dead under mysterious circumstances in Baltimore. He disappeared for 5 days. He was found semi-conscious, dressed in someone else's clothes, couldn't remember where he'd been or what had happened to him. He spent the last 4 days in a hospital surrounded by doctors who had no clue what was wrong with him. They said he doesn't appear to have been drinking, but he has some kind of brain fever, as they called it. And they finally said he died of phrenitis, which means inflammation of the brain. But we've come no closer in all these years to figuring out the exact cause of Poe's death, or what happened to him those missing days of his life right before that. But this little walking stick might be one of the clues to what happened.
Poe's death mirrored his life's writings in more ways than one, and is today still shrouded in a haze of mystery. But the amount of enjoyment a fan of Poe's work will get out of an afternoon spent at the Poe Museum is not a mystery anymore.
On any given day, visiting the Poe Museum, there's no telling what's going to happen to you. You could get bricked up alive behind a wall. You could show up when we're having a coffin building demonstration or a premature burial escape demonstration. We have a coffin here where people come and get their pictures taken in the coffin. We have an Amontillado set up where you can go and get your picture taken behind the brick wall with Amontillado and Fortunato. We have guided tours of the museum, but as you're walking around taking a guided tour, before you know it, Poe's mother could pop out of nowhere and start singing you some of the songs that she sang back in her day. Or we could have a performer just pop out in a straitjacket and start performing the Telltale Heart for you, just scare the bejesus out of you. But you just never really know what's going to happen. If you come on the fourth Thursday every month from April through October, we have an unhappy hour out here, kind of like a happy hour except at the Poe Museum, with live music and performances and a cash bar.
Looking for food? Richmond is the culinary mecca of great places to eat, and if you head into Carytown, you will find plenty of choices to fit your dining desires, such as the Daily Kitchen and Bar, which is a great choice for a filling meal that won't leave you feeling guilty.
My name is Michelle Williams, and I am with the Richmond Restaurant Group in Richmond, Virginia. And we own 6 restaurants here locally in town, and today we are at the Daily Kitchen and Bar, one of our newest concepts in Carytown.
It's really just about being comfortable, enjoying the food, enjoying the cocktails and the atmosphere, and having a good time.
What we serve are things that you would see every day on a menu, but we are just kind of elevating the quality of the food that we're serving. So lots of vegan options, lots of vegetarian options, gluten-free options, all of our protein and meats as well for the carnivores are non-GMO, antibiotic-free, hormone-free, and ethically sourced. So it's just really kind of getting back to the basics of eating and feeling comfortable with knowing where your food is coming from.
The whole concept is so that everybody in your family can come and eat. So we focus on dietary restrictions and the fad diets and making that accessible to common foods. For example, we do like vegan and gluten-free pizzas, as well as a normal margarita pizza with cheese and basil. So everybody has the option to come in and eat here. And that's really the crux of my job, is keeping up with food trends and making it accessible to everyday diners.
We're trying all different kinds of things here today at the Daily Kitchen and Bar. way outside of our norm of food choices, certainly. All this stuff is very healthy and very, they're very conscientious of people's food allergies here, and they abide by the motto that everybody can basically get what they want here at this restaurant. So this is a kale salad with some kind of vinaigrette dressing on it. It's very tasty. There's a lot of berry flavor to it. Great tasting salad. There's just so much great food here.
The menu is a lot of Michelle and I working together, some mine, some hers, some collaborative. We have 4 menus here: breakfast, brunch, lunch, and dinner, and a dessert menu, so there's a lot that goes into it.
That's the burger I was saying. That is, we make it from a bunch of different beans and grains, and it's vegan actually, right on down to the bread. So we're very proud of those things that we have worked on and figured out and that we can offer. So we have, vegan bread options. We have gluten-free bread options. They're made right next door to us here. A friend of mine is a baker, and so she bakes all of our bread for all of our sandwiches every day and delivers it, like I said, right next door. So we've got a lot of great artisans from Richmond that do help us make all of this happen. Some of our desserts come from a baker over in Jackson Ward as well, and she specializes in organic and raw desserts, and are still delicious but good for you.
The veggie burger, it's a blend of walnuts, sesame seeds, and almonds. It's bound with pinto beans. That way I can keep it vegan and I can keep it gluten-free with the gluten-free bun that we offer. However, people with nut allergies can't eat that. A lot of the other things, like the curry bowl that I sent you out, are vegan, gluten-free, nut-free, paleo-friendly, designed to really encompass many diets. And then we stray away from that with something like the pork buns, which is local pork from the Shenandoah Valley. They're called Autumn Olives Farms. We roast that, and we do kind of a spin on barbecue sauce with hoisin, and do it with a Chinese steam bun and pickled vegetables.
If they took the veggie burger or the Brussels sprouts off the menu, there would be a revolt. So it's so tasty. It's got great consistency. I never thought a veggie burger could be appetizing. I've been proven wrong here today at Daily Kitchen and Bar. You have to come check it out and try it out for yourself while you're here at Richmond.
This is the restaurant that you can come to and feel very comfortable to ask for whatever it is that you want. And the answer is always going to be yes, as long as it's possible to have it done. And so people feel comfortable knowing that they can bring their child who's a celiac here, or that, they feel very comfortable that we're going to take care and handle each person as an individual. And again, still having a great fun atmosphere and great quality, delicious food.
Now that your body is satisfied from hunger until dinner at least, you may be looking to get away from all the hustle and shopping to relax. Well, you could head back to your hotel room, but you could also head over a few blocks away from the Daily Kitchen and Bar to the Richmond Fine Arts Museum. Alright, so we're here at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts getting cultured today here in Richmond, and I'm with Alan and he's going to show us around a little bit.
So Brittany, imagine before 2010 where we're standing, this was a parking lot. And through the generosity of James and Frances McLaughlin, they donated the capital funds to build this new wing that we opened in 2010 to house our American collection. Recently, through their continued generosity, some of the art that we've seen around the room comes from their private collection. The 73 pieces of art that they put on display in this special collection have some of the most celebrated American artists ever in the history of our country. This places the American art collection at the museum as one of the premier art collections nationwide for this area. You'll notice as we walk along The spaces are very expansive. We have benches for people to sit and contemplate, because what's amazing is these were hand created. These were artists who had visions, who had stories that they wanted to tell. And this is brought out. So we invite people to stroll through the galleries, such as we're doing now, have a seat, take a look, kind of forget about your worries in life, and just really get deeply into the art and try to create those stories that are in your mind of what the artist was trying to convey. In fact, we should do that. So how do you like sitting here contemplating the art?
It's very peaceful and calm and relaxing. And it really gives you time to appreciate every little thing in the painting.
The painting that we're looking at was painted in 1920. Its title is Tennis at Newport. This is a George Bellows painting. It's quite a celebrated painting. One of the things that we do at the museum for people who come who may not be as knowledgeable about artwork is we have labels next to all of our art. So why don't we take a look at what this painting's about?
It's really interesting. In the summer of 1919, George Bellows attended an invitational tennis tournament at Rhode Island's prestigious Newport Lawn Tennis Club.
And as we read on, you can tell where he was at, what he was thinking, what inspired him to create this masterpiece.
Such as him being captivated by its luxurious setting and finely attired people.
Yeah, because you know, in 1920 they didn't have digital media like we have, or television. Everything was very much replicated through people's mind's eye and how they portrayed it. We didn't have the color and the action that we enjoy so much today.
Right, and so when you come here, you can sit down and contemplate what you think it means, and then compare it to what others think it means. And interpretation of it.
And that's what it's all about in an art museum, is interpreting what you're seeing. So you're seeing what the artists imagine, and we're helping you to do that. And then you can sit down and see what you're seeing. And often you may have complementary stories, and sometimes they may be different. Art is in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
You know, at the Virginia Museum of Fine Art, we pride ourselves on bringing to the public first of its kind exhibitions. Recently, we had Rodin, Evolution of a Genius, where many pieces that were never seen outside of Paris came to the United States and were featured here for the first time ever. We've had other exhibitions such as Picasso, where a lot of Picasso's art was showcased and exposed people from all over the country to things that they never would have imagined seeing. We have an alliance with the Chinese government, and we did a big feature called Forbidden City. So a lot of things that we do, we look to curate so we can bring art from all over the world and exhibit to people so they can enjoy and expose their horizons. Recently we did an exhibition on the art of Japanese tattoo. You would not think that you would see this kind of work in an art museum, but tattoo is a work of art. And it had very strong reception, especially amongst younger people. The Virginia Museum of Fine Arts is one of the few public museums in the country that has free admission to visitors. We are very special in the fact that we are an encyclopedic museum. What that means is that we cover lots of different areas in our collection. In fact, the collection at the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts is well in excess of 33,000 pieces. At any given time in our galleries, you'll find more than 3,000 pieces of art on display. That can be paintings, sculpture, all kinds of different things, including furniture and Tiffany lamps.
The Richmond Fine Arts Museum is a monument with many hallways dedicated to showcasing art to masses of art enthusiasts from all walks of life. But now that you have browsed the halls to your heart's content, where should you go next? Well, the nightlife around Carytown can keep even the liveliest visitor occupied, and chances are you won't have to look far for a good source of entertainment. But if you are looking for an atmosphere that is still classy but a bit quieter, just outside of Carytown is a restaurant where you can find a fantastic meal.
Treat people like family. I think that's the main goal. We have such a wonderful service staff, amazing kitchen staff, but it really is to treat people like their family, and it's due to the service staff that we do have that's so amazing and caring, and just to treat people the way you'd like to be treated is very important.
Heritage is a pretty new restaurant here in Richmond, but it is already growing a loyal, loving following.
It all just sort of fell into place, and we all realized we each bring something different to the table. And you know, Joe's so talented in the kitchen. Emilia with her, like, she's very elegant with her approach to service and her knowledge of wine. And you know, I sling a drink or two every once in a while from the bar, and it all kind of worked out to where we were like, we have this good cohesive unit that can work together, and we're family, we'll be there for each other, so we should be doing this for ourselves.
Because the menu is ever changing from season to season, food at Heritage is never boring. Every plate is prepared with care in order to indulge the visitor in taste as well as visual beauty.
The menu concept was really driven based around what was available locally. Whatever we could find locally sourced. I think it really starts with vegetables, at least for us, and then we work our way kind of backwards, which might be a different approach, but it's usually whatever's in season vegetable-wise, which will dictate whatever proteins we're going to get and whatever fish are local, and it's really based around the seasons. So whatever's available, that's really going to dictate our menu. I think Matthias has taken a very similar approach to that in the cocktail world, which is why it all makes sense.
The chefs at Heritage give their plates and cocktails an almost artistic feel. This care to detail brings a great attention from others here in this lively culinary community.
Last year we won Restaurant of the Year, which was really wonderful for the annual LB Awards that they have that Richmond Magazine puts on.
Joe also won Chef of the Year.
We got nominated for that again in both categories. Matthias has been nominated multiple times for Cocktail Program of the Year. My sous chef Mike is nominated for Rising Star right now, which is great. Michael Werner, who's floating around here, is nominated for Server of the Year. So it's nice to have some recognition from, I guess, the community, because it's kind of, the community is the one who dictates these awards, so it's nice to be in the conversation, which is great.
It's such a strong dining community. Like, Richmond has so much going on. It's very nice to be included in something like that. It's pretty cool. We feel very fortunate.
The dining scene here is incredible.
Yeah.
Keeps getting better, which is what we all want. More growth.
They included a pork belly category for the first time shortly after we opened, and yeah, it was the first time they had run it, and our pork belly was voted best in the city.
Okay. So pork belly.
Yeah.
That's currently on our menu.
Yeah.
I guess that's an award-winning dish.
Yeah.
Try to continue to be a part of the community, which the community has embraced this really well. So we're going to just continue to try to be a part of the community and do whatever we can to help charities and continue to collaborate with other chefs and other restaurants or bartenders and continue to grow.
On the next edition of On the Map, we tour one of the newest attractions in Richmond, the Quirk Hotel, as well as Maymont, one of the oldest attractions in Richmond, and we meet a vivacious tour guide at the Virginia State Capitol. If you enjoyed this episode of On the Map, visit onthemaptv.com for full episodes, bonus content, and more. You can even get involved by suggesting a location that you would like to see on the show. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at OnTheMapTV to keep up with all things On the Map.